you were rich.
Yeah, rich in that
Yeah,
context, right?
exactly.
Manipulation.
Yeah, it really
And by the
is.
way, why aren't we picking on the wealthy people who employ most of the people of the country?
Look,
Welcome to the show. Now, please strap in for the truth and remember the words of the great Tom Cruise.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Now, welcome to Off Topic on Porn.
well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever this may find you. We are back, O-Toppers. I, again, am Rob Looper, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Russell Cruzan. Russell, how are you doing?
Doing well, Rob. How about yourself?
Oh, hanging in there, hanging in there. We're back for another episode, and on this episode today, we're going to talk government shutdowns, and we're going to talk Gaza peace deal and what's going on. There's been some violence. So we're going to talk all things. Well, not all things, but we're going to talk about the peace deal a little bit, and we're going to talk about the government shutdown. So and how it's affecting. I don't know if you have anybody, Russell, but I have friends that this is actually affecting. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first of all, everything going okay this week for you?
Yeah, not bad. Been kind of a busy week, but nothing atypical.
Nothing atypical.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's been a crazy busy week. The boys had a lock in, so they were doing that, and so everybody's trying to recover. Now I didn't go, but I was up late, and then we had to go pick them up and all that other stuff. So it's been a real party, as it were, and so we're just trying to we're trying to recover. The whole house is trying to recover from the lock in. So. And I got to be honest. I remember when I was doing youth ministry and we did lock-ins. I got to be honest. I think if they did, how Harvard and whatever the hospital, Johns Hopkins and all those people, they should do studies
Yeah.
on the physical and mental damage that lock-ins do to your body. You know what I'm saying? I just think there's
Well,
something there
probably
for
right.
for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But no,
Although
it's been a pretty good week, and so
I'm not sure you could really trust that report if you're trying to get it from universities, though.
no, probably not. There's probably some
Their
agenda
studies
behind it.
or things.
Yeah.
Let's just say that I find them suspect these
Oh,
days.
hey, look, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, and you got to figure out who's paying for it, right? So,
Yes.
but anyway, so government shutdowns. The government is still shut down, and everybody's entrenched in their corners, and the thing that I understand both sides. I understand. Well, I don't understand both sides, but I've read and have picked up on what everybody's saying they want and this, that, and the other. And so the nice thing is, now I will say this because I am very pro our military people. We thank you for your service. And Russell, you're in a
Yes.
Military Town,
Oh
USA,
yeah.
San Antonio,
Military
Texas.
City, USA. That's right.
So we want to thank our troops, all of them, veterans alike. If you served, if you have served, if you do serve, if you're a
Hmm.
family member of somebody who serves, we want to thank you as well for your service. We are so grateful for all that
Yes.
you do. So it was rare. It was very. I was very glad to see this. That it was announced. Trump told Secretary Hegseth, "Look, I don't care what you do, get our troops paid." So our troops will be getting paid, which is good.
That's
So we're
good.
not gonna haggle over that, and use them in the sense of for political propaganda on either side of the aisle, by the way. Okay. Our troops are going to get paid, and I think they deserve to get paid. But it's
Yes.
interesting. There are people, and I have one of you and I both know Bill. I've known Bill for 25 years, but he's probably my best friend in the world, other than, again, Jesus and my wife. Then there's Bill. And you know what? Him and I have been talking about this, and interestingly enough, and he's not a Trump critic. He's not a left wing supporter. He's not. He's kind of in the middle at this point. He's saying, "Look, I just don't want to be a pawn anymore in this game. People's lives are being affected. Do me a favor, figure it out, and get us back to work." And I think that's really the thing to me is I'm not for a humongous government by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want bloat, but I also don't want people to be ping pong balls. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, So I think that's, and there's
Talking
people,
about on the shutdown stuff
yeah, on
where
the
people are
shutdown
losing
stuff. You
their
know what I mean?
jobs.
I think, if we
Well,
need to cut certain places,
here's the problem, Rob. We really had to be honest about this, and we're just not as a nation we're not doing a good job because it hurts too much to do it. The government is not supposed to be an employer to start with. Government's supposed to govern.
sure.
And so the government, you're talking about bloat. There have been, I mean, for much, much, much longer than you and I have been alive, this process has been going on of adding bureaucracies and people to staff the bureaucracies. And then there has been efforts to get relatives hired, relatives of our politicians. And how do they get, what are they being hired into? They're being hired into positions created so that they can have positions
Yeah.
into in these organizations. There's organizations that are created to do things, also social things that the government is not supposed to do and was never intended to do, but they're doing it anyway. Why? Well, because voters put politicians in to do these things because the voters don't know how our government works, or maybe they don't care how our government works. So all of this starts with the population. If we held our politicians accountable and held them accountable in the right way, we wouldn't have this problem. The reason we have it, and we have it in abundance, is because we have not done that. So then when people start losing their jobs and by the way, because they are those jobs are a part of the bloat.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are going to get mad, but look, that doesn't mean that this shouldn't be done. And I'm sorry for the people who lose their jobs. I lost my job a couple of years ago, and it wasn't a government job, but
Right.
people lose their jobs. They do, and people lose their jobs sometimes unfairly, and people lose their jobs sometimes in a way that hurts. And I mean, it never helps.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
But then again, there's other jobs out there, and there's the necessary reduction in our the bloat in our economy. And
Sure.
look at our debt as a nation.
It's huge. Yeah.
There's just so many things. So yeah, I get why people are upset, but I also understand why this is a good thing to do, and
Well,
I really think it is.
Well, I think it's fine. I just don't like the loggerhead where we've got people, sitting. And again, I'm going to use the left here. This is not the time to go, okay, look, we're not going to approve a budget because we want to deal with Medicare and Medicaid and all and the Obamacare.
Well, that's right.
Look,
That's ridiculous.
let's stop that. Let's get a budget so that we can get the people. If again, and Russell, I'm not going to disagree with you on the bloat, and sometimes jobs have to go. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the ping ponging of we're going to hold the workers, and we're gonna try to see how much political ground we can gain and point the finger at the other side because they're not giving in and all this other stuff. These people have lives. I mean, they're literally people, which you would agree with. If their jobs aren't going to be cut, then you know what? Deal with all this other stuff after you approve the funding to get them back to work. Now, if they're not going back to work because their job's being cut, that's fine.
And you're right. You are right. And there's one group of people that's stopping that from happening.
Right. No, and so I think to me, that's where I think we need to really, focus our ire. And I am glad though that again, the military is going to get paid, but it does make me frustrated with, and it seems like, and I know for people that are like, look, just give in and talk about, just do this thing where you can talk about Medicare and you talk about Medicaid. And it's also though, to me, that's the reason, America doesn't, you see it on all the, the TV shows and you see it on all this other stuff. It's played out in game theory. You don't give in to demands when people are, when you have hostages or you have this, you don't give in to the demands because as soon as you do, then, okay, well, I asked for a helicopter. Now I want a plane. Now, because you've given in at this point, there is no, you've then said, well, then I'm going to give in. And so I do understand that. I think and so the problem is you say, well, this isn't the time and the place to discuss that. If this isn't the bill for that, where we will discuss it, but that's on a separate, a separate bill in a separate place. And the problem is, and I'm just going to say this, as well, and it's on both sides of the aisle. People have dealt in bad faith. They said, "Oh yeah, we'll talk about it later," and then they never do. So when you
Right.
say, "Yeah, we'll talk about it later," okay, sure. If everybody was honorable and did what they said they were going to do, there wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is, and I'm not just pointing at one party. It goes back to that old joke. How do you know a politician's lying? Because they're speaking. So the problem has been that because that joke is not really a joke, it's a telling of real life. They're like, no, I want you to, you can't promise me, you can't give me your word, you can't pinky swear. You have to actually sign it to where it is legally binding. And honestly, it goes back to why your word means so much. We talk about it in the Bible where Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Because right now you need trust because you want to get these people back to work and you want to do this. Nobody has any trust of anybody else. Nobody. And so the problem is because of that, and it's not even that you can't, you could say, well, you could trust this one person because they always do what they say they're going to do. Here's the problem. You have to be able to trust that a majority, so you can get it on the floor, so you can get it talked about, can do it. Well, the problem is both parties, so it's not just one, both parties have shown they do not have the integrity to do what they say they're going to do. And we point fingers, well, they didn't do this and they did. Yep, exactly.
You think that's the problem with this particular shutdown?
I think it's a problem in general. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The
I do
problem.
too, but look, here's the thing. Speaker Johnson has gotten up on a couple of occasions and has pointed out, oh, we have a resolution that does nothing more than reopen the government and get everybody back to work that, isn't at work right now. That's all it does. The other party is the one that is wanting to try to use this opportunity to get things that were taken out of I'm trying to remember what the legislation was, but anyway,
Are you about the
you're
healthcare, the
getting
Obama
bloated
tax
and
cut,
fat.
or the Obama
Yes,
healthcare
yes,
cuts
all of
and
that. They're
Medicaid,
trying to use
Medicare?
this opportunity to get that stuff put back in,
Yeah,
and that's where the contention is.
that is where the
There's,
contention
there's
is.
the
Yeah,
people who are saying let's just reopen the government, and the other ones are saying no, we don't want to do that unless we get this and this and this, and it's re-implementing things that rob the taxpayers
sure,
and that fund ridiculous programs, many of them overseas.
sure. I not no, and I don't
And
disagree.
that's really what's going on here. So
Yeah,
yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I agree. There has been over the years game playing by different people, but right now that just isn't going on. Right now, it's really clear who's doing
Oh,
what in
and
this
I
situation.
don't, let me just be clear. I'm not trying to give anybody a pass. So I know
Yeah.
who the game, you and I are agreed on who the game playing is. The problem has been, in my opinion, is we've going back to the founding fathers, and you said it when you said that it wasn't supposed, the government wasn't supposed to be an employer, it's supposed to govern.
Yeah.
They've lost their way. They're not
Oh yeah.
governing anymore.
Oh yeah.
Now it's hey, how can I make the other side look bad so that I can get reelected so I can stay in power? This has now become
Oh
you
yeah.
go there to get power
It's become
and
a
stay
great
in
way
power.
to use the American
Yeah,
public to empower me because I happen to
yeah,
have successfully gotten into this political office, and now I'm going to play the game with the other politicians.
yeah.
There's a lot of that goes on and has been going on. Case in point, who didn't lose their salaries
Oh yeah, no.
with it?
Oh, see, and that's the thing that does bother me a lot is you'll never see Congress shut down and
Yeah,
lose their salaries. It's only the lower level
yeah,
employees.
yeah. Congress doesn't.
Yeah,
Now, look, notice that all these kinds of decisions like that,
yeah,
they all go back to what empowers
yeah,
members of the government and what uh, enriches members of the government. Why is it that you can just this just popped into my head?
sure.
Why is it that you can declare bankruptcy on most everything, but you can't on student loans?
Yeah,
Those are government loans,
right.
and on your taxes.
Yep.
Why?
Because the government's going to get their pound of flesh no matter what. And you know what?
And who benefits from that cash pool
Oh,
ultimately?
the
And see,
politicians. Yeah.
either they get money out of it or they get power out of it.
Yep.
So All of those roads go back to our politicians. But here's the thing, Rob, who puts those politicians in office?
Unfortunately, we do.
Yeah. Now the politicians are playing a game
Oh, sure.
because they manipulate the population pool of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get as many people as we can to vote for us. Like, you've heard the statistic that roughly half of the people pays income tax because
Yeah.
roughly half the people of the country are the ones that are employed enough to do that.
Sure.
Okay, so that's not lost on the politicians. They're manipulating the other half and saying, "Hey, let's have your votes, and here's what we'll give you free."
Sure.
And
Yeah,
so
no,
they hold the
absolutely.
rest of us hostage
Yep.
to a system because we're going to work and we're getting money
Yeah.
that we're paying. Rob, how is it that we're paying 20, 22%, 24%, et cetera, of our salaries?
I know.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of
How did
money.
we get to that point?
Right.
Because of the same people.
Yeah, no,
The
absolutely.
same people in government and the people that they manipulated in our population to vote in that
Well,
direction.
see,
So
one
the
of the
whole thing is just a big fat scam. So
Yep.
us not opening the government, that's just one small sliver of
It is.
the overall
Well,
problem.
Russell, that was like the Clinton tax cuts. You remember the Clinton? And we're going to move on to our next topic here in a minute. But I just wanted to.
Yeah.
It's interesting when remember the Clinton tax cuts, and it was going to be only on the rich. Remember the rich?
Yes.
And then
yes,
everybody's like, "Yeah, you
It's
stick it
always
to
the
the rich."
story.
Yeah. And then everybody woke up the next morning and realized if you made over $20,000, you were rich.
Yeah, rich in that context.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Manipulation.
Yeah, it really
And by
is.
the way, why aren't we picking on the wealthy people who employ most of the people of the country?
Look, I got to be honest with you. I think we should have a day where you go find a rich person and hug them because they're the people who
Yeah.
employ people. They're the people who took the risk, started the business, put themselves out there,
Right.
and are the ones taking the risk. You know what I'm saying? So you should,
And
you
running
should
a
thank
business is
it.
a massive headache.
It
brother.
is.
Massive headache.
You should thank them.
Thanks to the government.
Right.
It's not just the free market, free
No,
enterprise system. That's
exactly.
part of it,
Right.
competition.
Yeah.
But it's the government adding all this regulatory poundage
Oh, sure.
to everything. And I mean all levels of government, brother. So you can see
Yeah.
where my mind is on all of this.
Every business was started by somebody, every major corporation, all the Google, Apple,
Mhm.
Hewlett Packard, Microsoft, all these things were started probably in somebody's garage and then they just blew up.
Mhm.
And now they employ thousands of people. You should
Mhm.
probably thank that, and they make, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, they make rich people. But here's the problem. Why are you begrudging them that? If you want to be rich, go start a business.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we
They're
live in a
not all of a
country that
sudden
allows
evil
that.
because they made money.
Exactly. Don't take their money. Let them have it and you go make some.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
pretty sinister.
It is. It really is.
It's a sinister use of
Yeah.
government.
And it's sinister that we want to penalize them, by the way. Why? Why would you penalize exceptionalism?
Because notice the people who are supporting penalizing them are not exceptional people.
No, I agree with that. So they just want what they don't want to earn.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, I tell you. So anyway, so moving, changing gears here. We'll grind the gears and change the gears. So the peace plan in the Middle East, I guess, Trump is flying, is getting ready to fly out and oversee this, but and they're getting ready to exchange the hostages. Netanyahu was on TV and he was saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, there's a long way to
Lord,
go."
let that happen for real. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting. Yeah, so this is and evidently, the Arab world is all behind this, and they're telling Hamas, like, you don't got anywhere to go. You got to do this. You got to do
Mhm.
this. But
Yeah.
there was a deal. I guess it was today where there was some violence in Gaza. Now,
Mhm.
let me be clear for everybody. Hear this, please. Israel didn't do it.
Right.
Israel wasn't even involved. It was Hamas that went into a Gaza neighborhood and they started shooting it up. They started. It was the Al Dagmush family militia they went after because evidently this militia that is a Gaza militia had started shooting at some of the Hamas people, I guess, and so all of a sudden you have now infighting in Gaza. Israel, they're not doing anything. It's not that they're not doing anything. They were not involved in the shooting, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right.
And so you had 52 Um, 52 of dog the Dogmush clan were killed, and 12 Hamas militants were killed. So and it's getting close to the time for ceasefire uh, for all of the hostages to be traded back and forth. So this is really kind of groundbreaking. But there's still some. I mean, there's the tensions are running kind of high over there, and there's it was interesting because you know there seems to be possible end time implications to this. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Is this? I don't think this is the peace accord that it's talking about in Revelation, but it certainly could set up for that.
Yeah.
I remember my youngest asked me because he was like, "Hey, is this the one that they talk about in Revelation before the tribulation?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't think Donald Trump's the Antichrist, honestly." So
Some people do.
some people do, but I don't.
Well, and then there's some people that don't think there is an Antichrist, and
Sure,
then you got some people that don't think that the end times are a thing.
sure.
Like, for example, I don't know if you saw the Tucker interview with the nun. That's what
Mm-mm.
they're calling her.
No.
Oh yeah, you need to look that up,
Okay.
brother. She's the Eastern Orthodox nun, and I mean, she could not be more incorrect on things she was saying about the scripture. I mean, it was really
Oh boy.
really pretty. I don't even know what adjectives to apply to it. It was bad though. It really was, and she was not real knowledgeable either in any kind of fair way, or even just say she wasn't accurate
Right.
when it came to her assessment of the Middle East conflict situation. And she was obviously anti-Israel, and she's obviously trying to proffer the idea that any form of Zionism is wrong. It's heinous, and any form of support for Israel is wrong. And this is a lady that lives over there, so you need to
I'll look it up.
you need to hold your nose and watch that, brother.
Well, yeah, you know how I am about that. I'm not real.
Yeah.
I'm not real fond of any of that stuff, but
And Tucker Carlson did a really good job of showing his Bible ignorance also. So
that's
in
always
case
fun.
anybody's wondering,
Yeah.
and
Well,
yeah, I'm calling him out. I really don't care. He's never going to see me.
well,
Probably.
no. I mean,
If he
Russell,
ever does, yeah, I'm calling you out, Tucker Carlson.
Russell,
Yeah.
you're a pretty big deal, so he might see you. You never
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A really big deal in some really small spaces.
But no, I mean, I think like I said, I think this is a big deal, and if it can, I just again, you and I have talked about this. I'm not sure, and I've talked with, and I know you've heard me talk about. We went to a Messianic congregation in Richmond, and the rabbi there was very involved in Washington D.C. in politics, and he's now very involved over there. I'm not going to use his name because again, I don't want anything happening over there. But the idea of a two-state solution is, you have to be careful because again, there's real lives. There's believers that are in Gaza, that are Arabs, and so just to say, hey, go, you got to leave. You know what I'm saying? That idea that okay, it all belongs to Israel and that's great, so get out. Even he's not in favor of that. He's like, look, there's got to be a solution where we all kind of come together and we all kind of say, okay, look, what is the deal? How can we work together? And they do. It really becomes you got to get the militants, and I mean this on both sides.
How do you get
by the way.
everybody together? How do you get together with people who refuse to get together?
Well, see, and that's the interesting thing with the two-state solution is there's a lot of times and you and I've been there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Arabs that are okay. They like being in the state of Israel. They're fine. It's the militants,
yeah.
and there's actually
we're talking about the Palestinian situation.
Yeah, no, I got to be honest.
So-called.
To be honest, it comes down, and I don't know how to do it. See, this is the problem, and this is why the region is so entangled and embroiled. And I'm not. There's you almost have to find a way to get Hezbollah and Hamas out, because the people then can say, okay, we just want to live here. We just not leave us alone. That's not what they're
that's
saying.
what people say anyway. But look, the issue. Let me clarify something before you go on. Okay, just to.
Sure.
The problem is not Arab peoples.
No.
The problem is Islam.
Yeah.
and the practitioners of Islam, and people say, well, it's not all of them. No, but it is the overwhelming majority, because it's to be uh, a person who is a practitioner of Islam, the way it is actually formulated from the beginning, is a person that is militant. It's formulated for people to be militant. The practitioners, the embracers of it, the instructions are to be militant.
Yep.
And people that take it seriously, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And so this isn't going to go away through any kind of political solution. And I know people don't like hearing that. And I know people sidestep that and ignore it, people being politicians and some gullible Christians. But that's just how it is. When people have determined they are not going to stop until a particular nation, Israel, doesn't exist anymore, there's no way to negotiate around that.
That's a hard negotiating place to start with. I mean,
that's an impossible.
It's impossible, because you can't. There's nowhere to go from there, really.
Right. And the sooner people understand that is what we are dealing with in the world, the more intelligent we will become as a world.
Sure.
But people aren't doing that. They're pretending, oh, we got to try something. Why don't you try taking what they're saying at face value?
Yeah.
Why don't you try believing what they're saying, and let's respond to that?
Sure.
And so what does that mean? That means first thing you do is you stop castigating Israel every time you turn around.
Yeah.
Because they have no such policy. But they get painted as having a policy like that. How many times have you heard the word genocide
Sure.
leveled against them?
Yeah, totally.
Utter rubbish.
Yeah. Well, and see, I was in Sderot, which is a city that's very close to Gaza, and I went up on a hill that overlooked, and we were fired at now from Gaza because they could see us. Now, before everybody gets all like, "Oh, you're in there," the bullets couldn't go that far, but it didn't stop them from trying. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I also saw was the sea and hydropower and all that stuff. In the midst of at the height of that, when Hamas is firing hundreds of Qassam rockets a day into the little town of Sderot and other places, by the way. And I've got pictures of the holes in the street. Talked to people who have been hit by the Qassam rockets. All those things. They had hundreds of surgeries to try to repair the damages to their body. Israel never turned off the power to Gaza.
Wow.
Now, that story's not told. What else there's not told is Israel will, I don't know that, they're trying to do something, okay, but they're kind of telegraphing what they're going to do. It's like telegraphing a play, but they're like, hey, you need to get out of this area. We are going to level this area. So they drop leaflets. Well, so what ends up happening is Hamas, Hezbollah will move civilians into that area. Well, the problem is that's where they'll put those people in front of like the Qassam rockets. They'll put them in front of the launchers. Okay, here's the problem. And I don't like loss of life. I don't want any loss of life. I don't.
Most of
us one is too many. But the problem it becomes is this: that Qassam launcher is killing or damaging other children. There's Russell. I got a picture of the ghost shadows that the explosions make when little, you know what I'm saying? Where there's little, that they're killing. And so the problem becomes if you don't stop the killing machine, and they've said, hey, clear out. And so Israel tries to fight the war humanely, but you don't hear that. And do they make mistakes? Absolutely. Like, and there, let me be very clear. I do not agree with everything that the Israeli government does. They are not clean. They're like any government. They are staffed by humans who are very flawed. There are
when
things
people point that out, they're really pointing nothing out,
right?
Because your government's the same,
right? No, every government's the same, and so
is the government of your mother and everybody else. And
I've experienced when
and all. There's no government that, and so then we start playing that but we're not committing genocide, and neither are they.
Right. Well, and
that's just something you're saying.
And to me, I'll be honest with you, I've experienced uh, uh, nothing like some of my friends have over there, who are uh,
Yeah.
who believe that Jesus is the Messiah, who are messianic. But I've experienced, let's call it, different treatment at the the hands of the
Yeah.
government
Because you're
um,
Jewish
because I'm Jewish and I'm a believer that Jesus is
and
Messiah.
you're a believer.
Yeah,
That's right.
so I've experienced it a little bit different, but eh, still, it is very, and it just depends on who's in the Knesset at the time. Um, so
Mhm.
certain trips have been easier, and other trips have been more difficult,
Yeah.
and it's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
And
You
you
know.
know my feelings on that.
Oh yeah,
I think it's completely wrong that
it
they
is
are treating people who are their greatest allies in that
sure,
way.
but I think the thing is, and it goes back to this, um, that two-state solution. And again, if this peace deal that Trump is brokering can happen,
Yes.
peace in the region would be phenomenal for everybody. Like honestly,
Yes, it
for the
would.
world, it would be great.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing, and the reason we brought this up and what happened in Gaza is, I just feel like at times it just seems, I don't know, maybe that Hamas isn't, they're just, they've gotten so used to fighting that they don't know how to stop, because they just
Well,
went in and they
and you
just
have to want to
went into,
stop too.
yeah, right. And so they went into this neighborhood and they said, "Hey, look, these people, they shot at some of our people. They did this and they just 52 of them are dead." I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
the. I'm not going to pretend I'm the king of the backstory here, but the indication is that that this clan had evidently shot at or done some damage to Hamas people, and so instead of just letting it go, because hey, look, a ceasefire is coming. Let's just all kind of just stop. They were
Right.
like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go handle this because we can't, and it's almost, it has the feeling of, well, we can't fire at the Jews. Who can we fire at right now? They're just, there's an anger.
Yeah.
And to me, what it denotes is a need for, in my opinion, for Jesus. And the reason I say that is
Absolutely.
we all have anger. We all have frustrations. We all have, I mean, life in itself is tough right now. And we need that peace that passes all understanding. And when you don't have that, then you lash out, you do things. And unfortunately, in this instance, man, it costs people their lives in that sense.
Yeah.
But um,
Yes.
so anyway, that's what's going on there. So anyway,
Well,
any final
may the
thoughts?
Lord grant that the hostages are actually released tomorrow.
Yes,
This is
yes,
happening the Sunday night before this podcast episode is, and then you know, I'm always cautious about things like this, but we always wish for the best, right?
we
We
do,
always wish
we
for
do.
that which is the greatest thing
Yes.
for the lives of people.
And I'm going to say this because it's easy to wish and hope for all the Israeli captives to come home, and we want that. Even the ones that have passed away.
Right.
But you know what? There's families who are in Gaza who are waiting for the hostages that they have to come
Yeah.
home. And so you know what? I
Well,
really want those to come
do
home
they
as
have
well.
hostages in
They
Israel,
do. They'll
or
be.
do they have prisoners?
I think it's prisoners. I'm not sure
Okay.
which, but they're calling them hostages. So either way,
Who's calling them hostages?
uh,
Israel?
I, it's
Oh,
the
they say we
news.
have
I mean,
hostages here too.
yeah, right. So
Because see, the people that hold hostages are criminals. That's the reason I'm
yeah, no,
challenging the
I understand what you're saying.
terminology.
I'm just reading the news. You know what I'm saying? When I read the news, they're saying there's a hostage exchange. So I would say,
Okay.
yeah, right, exactly, right,
From a source as reliable as the news, huh?
right,
Okay.
exactly. So I would say that the prisoners, whatever. But even so, those prisoners are going home and they're wanting their. Now again, if they're prisoners in there, they did atrocities, then I think the courts should judge that and then
Yeah.
appropriately
I mean,
dole
did
out the.
Israel go in and say, we're just picking these innocent people up and we're going to hold them?
Yeah, I don't know about
Did they
that.
do that?
No,
I
no,
really,
not that I'm.
really
No,
doubt that they
they
did
didn't
that.
do that. But I mean, again, they're doing a, let's call it a swap. So
Okay.
you know, so
A swap of different kinds of captives. Yeah.
so anyway, yeah. So we hope that everything goes smoothly. That's what I'm hoping for, that everything
Amen to
goes
that, yeah.
smoothly and
Yes.
that everybody is returned to their,
Let us get these innocent people
yeah,
back home,
the innocents
and
come
then
back home.
let the statesmen hopefully do
Yeah.
something by God's grace that would be good,
Yeah, absolutely.
and profitable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but and so as we end this episode, we want to thank our sponsor, one of our sponsors,
Yes.
Mountain Mowers. Um, if you are in the Tri-County area, they are a local expert. They're our local expert for keeping your yard looking its best. Whether it's mowing, trimming, or full lawn care, Mountain Mowers has you covered with reliable service and a personal touch. They know every yard is different, and they treat yours like their own. If you're ready for a lawn that stands out without all the hassle, call Mountain Mowers LLC today at 276-730-8230. Mountain Mowers, they cut grass, not corners, and we love Mountain Mowers. So give them a call. They'll get you hooked up. So, Russell, I think that's all the time we have for this evening or this
Yes, so.
afternoon or this morning, depending on where and how you're listening. And so we want to thank you for tuning in and remind you, you do not always have to be on topic. You can be off topic, but you must always remain. Russell, tell them.
On point.
On point. Thanks, Low Toppers. And you can always catch us at otopnow@gmail.com. Like, comment, subscribe. Help us get this out there. If you like it, do us a favor. Tell somebody about it. Share this with them. Like, subscribe, comment. That helps the algorithm get it out there for us. And so we would just ask you to tell a friend and bring them into the OTOP family. And we will see you next time on Off Topic On Point. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for listening today to Off Topic On Point. We want to remind you of our email address if you'd like to contact us. It's otopnow@gmail.com. That's otopnow@gmail.com. And as always, we want to leave you with this. It's okay to be off topic. Just make sure you're always on point. All right. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.